So here we are in Washington, D.C. at Fletcher's Cove, just called the Boathouse, on the C&O Canal. This is the C&O Canal. The C&O Canal runs parallel to the Potomac. The water you see through the trees way over in the distance is the Potomac, separating Virginia from D.C. We're not that far from the D.C.-Maryland border, which is over this way to our west down the C&O Canal. The C&O Canal stands for the Chesapeake and Ohio. Apparently later in April, this is April, there are going to be all kinds of little celebrations and parties sponsored by Guest Services Corporation for the C&O Canal. Guest Services runs the little concession stand down there where I just had a decent hot dog and Pepsi, and this is a bike and running path. Usually this is for runners, although I bike on it and so does this family. There's an asphalt path below it that's more for bikes and fewer runners. This one's gravel. Anyway, Guest Services runs this concession that rents you bicycles and boats. There's a lot of fishing. Apparently there's a lot of different kinds of shad and herring, and they are purportedly safe to eat in the Potomac. But the catfish, because it's a scavenger and it sucks up all kinds of garbage, apparently they tell you not to. Anyway, here's a little boathouse that is back from the 18th century, I imagine. I'm not sure if anything's going on in there now. Although the windows are intact and it has an alarm system. There are construction projects all around it. Anyway, I'm going to make a video now of the woods along the Potomac and the C&O Canal, running in bike paths. I'm going to do it while bicycling because you get to see more since that's faster than walking. So this is biking with one hand and iPad 3 videotaping with the other hand. Always the potential, as in all my videos, for some humorous mishap. Accosted by a Secret Service agent because I was filming the British Embassy. In this case, it's more likely to be either $800 worth of iPad 3 being destroyed, or me saving it by breaking my bone and throwing my bicycle into the water. The C&O Canal has ducks, as you can see. A little later in the summer, especially if there's enough water, it has all kinds of beautiful flowers. For some reason, somebody's planted a lot of orange tiger lilies. I doubt they're native, although I'm not sure, that crop up in banks, on the banks and spots here. There are also snapping turtles. So I suppose these ducks could be mating right now, and there could be a nest of duck eggs. And unfortunately, I think snapping turtles probably eat baby ducks, because all you have to do is grab a little leg and pull it down, and then you've got duck for lunch, which, if I hadn't just had that hot dog at the concession stand and I were closer to Chinatown, would sound great. I would be in on the snapping turtle lunch menu. Anyway, this is kind of a pointless video, even though it's technically in my Tea Partier's Guide to Washington video series that appears on my YouTube channel. But the only political content is that, of course, most, if not all, of Washington, D.C. should be returned to the pristine state of this little strip of it. The bureaucrats should all be sold into slavery to China. Their children taken from them and given up in adoption to decent families. Their houses sold and money returned to the tax serfs. Their buildings taken apart and sold off to be reassembled elsewhere for private use. And then the ground plowed under so that nature can reclaim Washington, or at least most of it. I don't want to upset any minarchist. And it would all be pretty like this, as opposed to full of zombies like Harry Reid and fembots like Nancy Pelosi, or mutants like Henry Waxman and James Carville. Although James Carville has left for New Orleans, and he and his wife never lived in D.C. anyway. They have a house in Alexandria on the river, also on the Potomac, so by boat we could get there from here. Anyway, I have not a lot else to say for this videotape unless we happen to hit something exciting. Here's a bridge that's clearly from the 19th century. No doubt a little train used to go across. I think this means we are getting close to a real bridge that's actually used, Chain Bridge, which is how you cross from DC to the Arlington-McLean, Virginia border. Francis Scott Key Bridge goes from DC to Arlington, downtown Arlington. Anyway, I think this means that we will be seeing the Chain Bridge up ahead, probably. Although maybe it's still a ways off. By car it would be very close, by bicycle or foot it's maybe still a ways off. Anyway, when you get there, you're essentially at the Maryland border. So, unless I get bored with myself, which could happen, this video might last 3.5 more minutes. And it might be that we're close enough to Maryland that even by bike we'll be there in 3.5 minutes. But we are still in DC. And one of the reasons for this tape is that so many people don't think visually. I know because I've had them here as visitors and tourists and families of friends. They don't believe that you would see something that looks like this in Washington, D.C. And yet you can. And politically, what we should aim for is Washington, D.C., in which 98% of Washington, D.C. looks like this. And all the people who are currently running everyone's life and